Good evening, and welcome to the Speakers and Leaders Hour, the TV show that comes to your home once a month on the first Tuesday. And we are here in the Allen County Library. We're live. Well, of course, we're live, but I mean the show is live. And it's also an interactive show. If you want to reach us, you can call in and you can talk to us at 422-3902. That is the call-in number. We have operators standing by. And we're here to talk about our two very favorite topics, and that is, of course, is the Toastmaster organization, which we usually talk about in the first half. And then the second half, we deal primarily with Robert's Rules of Order, the Parliamentary Society, and in our case, we are the new organization of the National Association of Parliamentarians with the Bob Lyman Unit. But more about that a little later. Tonight, I have with me two guests here, and I'm really delighted to have them. The first is the young lady that I'd like to introduce, and her name is Patricia Knaebe. As you've seen her in the past, Patricia has been here on many occasions. She's a two-time Division B governor, and she has a title now. I'll give that later when she's giving a speech of what she's doing here in the district. Say hello, Patricia. Hello, Patricia. Sitting next to her is Mr. Tom Haller. Tom is a two-time, three-time area governor. You've been area governor lots, Tom, haven't you?
3 times. Yeah.
3 times, yes. Also, he's the president of the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, as well as the new Bob Lyman unit of the Parliamentary Club. So if we're not exactly an inbred bunch, we do get around from one organization to the next. And they are both here tonight, and as I said, we're going to talk about Toastmasters, and then they're going to give a couple of demonstration speeches from the basic manual. But I'd like to just kind of open it up and talk about, we just had a wonderful holiday season and a really cold day. How about that weather today, guys? What'd you think of it, Patricia?
Pretty darn cold.
In a word, yes. Pretty darn cold.
Pretty darn cold, yes.
Did you have any trouble with cars, or were you able to escape all of that?
No, the cars were fine, and the snow was light and fluffy, so it was easy to shovel, easy to brush off the vehicle. I didn't have to scrape windows. So if I don't have to scrape windows, I'm happy.
Okay, and Tom, how about you? What did you do today?
Well, I did many things, including using my brand new snowblower for the first time.
Ooh, how did that go?
It went pretty good. I had never used one before, so didn't know exactly what to expect, but it certainly beat shoveling. It was probably an ideal snow to practice on before it gets real serious. Learn a few things
and when
about
you practice, I mean, you just pull the chain, go, or does it electric start, or how does that work?
Either or. You can start it from house current with an extension cord. Okay. I just pull started it.
Okay, and it started well?
It started good.
Okay. Yeah. Now, do you have to put stuff in the gas, like to make it?
No, it's a 4-cycle.
No. I mean, don't you have to put stuff in the gas to keep it from freezing, or the gas from gumming up, or something of that sort?
No, I mean, we keep it in the garage. We don't keep it outside. Okay. And no. Is the answer.
So you would advise everybody to get one that needs one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I don't have one, but I've got something you guys don't have. I have a remote start on my car, so I can stand at the front door and push a button and watch my car sit there and warm up, and the wipers go. And when I get out there, my windshield is relatively clean. And then I melt the back window off with the window defroster in the back, and I'm good to go. So as to say I don't like winter is really an understatement. I despise winter. And so maybe we have some snow-related stories out there you'd like to share with us. We would be happy to hear them this evening. And so how are you? We haven't talked about Toastmasters in a month, so how is your club doing, Patricia?
The American Red Cross Toastmasters Club is doing very well. And we, like every other club, are looking to build our membership, and we're hoping to do that this year and do it well. Last year we were President's Distinguished, as was Anthony Wayne. We met 9 out of the 10 goals, so we did well on membership last year, but unfortunately, like clubs do, we lost a few members, and it's time to add some more.
Well, membership is a constant continuing, never stopping thing.
It is. It's constant.
Are you having anything like an open house coming up or anything you want to promote? Or?
We had a Christmas open house, and we had 10 guests at it. So that was 10.
Well, now, how
We
did
had
you
10
scrape
guests.
up 10 guests?
Everybody was given the mission to invite at least one person, and some of us invited more than one person, and the guests responded. It was nice. It was great.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Well, Tom, tell me about your club. I don't think any of them have met recently, have they?
No, pretty much everybody has taken time off for the holidays. Let me comment briefly on what Patricia said. I was one of the guests that went there. They did a very good job with their open house. And just today I received a very nice follow-up card, a thank you card, encouraging me to join. I assume it did. I didn't really have time to read it very carefully yet. But they did very well. Anthony Wayne is threatened by their club. They're gaining on us. We've always been the big kahuna. We've been the 500-pound gorilla. And at the rate they're going, well, they may surpass us here pretty soon. Anthony Wayne has an open house twice a year, and we've had other special events. We've had a person join recently. I had a person contact me by email. I assume people can be contacted otherwise, but that's pretty much the only way anybody contacts anybody nowadays. The person contacted me by email with a view to coming to our club and even talked about joining. So, Anthony Wayne has always been very fortunate that way, much to the annoyance of some other people. We have people walking in off the street demanding their right to join, and we always accommodate them. We meet every Thursday. We didn't meet Thanksgiving, but every Thursday at the, I always want to say North Campus. I was corrected on that. The Ivy Tech Coliseum campus. They have a campus that's actually in the south part of Fort Wayne that I wasn't aware of. And we've just changed rooms. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I think we'll be meeting in 1550 now, right?
Is that back to our old room, Tom?
I
there,
believe so.
Right off the main front doors?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I believe that is where we're going to be.
Well, it's a good place to meet. One thing we do very well, we have considerable strength, is in having the equipment. We can do an audio-visual presentation. Pretty much whatever you would want there, we would be able to do, which a lot of clubs can't do. Some other clubs can, but that is one advantage we have.
All right, okay. And of course, I do belong to the Bearfield Toastmasters. We haven't talked at all about that. And that is indeed the best club on the south side of Fort Wayne. It meets at the Penguin Point there on Lower Huntington Road, just over the bridge. And we meet every Tuesday evening, and we meet from 6:30 till 8 o'clock sharp. There is one caveat. We don't meet on the second Tuesday. Well, we meet, but it's not a club meeting because it's an officers' meeting. And it's because the building was available to other groups at that time, so we have to vacate and go and have our officer meeting elsewhere. But first, third and fourth, and sometimes fifth meetings are all there at Penguin Point, and you're more than welcome to come and see what the Toastmaster Club is all about. And for the most part, it's about public speaking. There's also leadership classes and also workshops and things that we do. But tonight, we're going to focus on the speeches and the basic manual. And that is a book of 10 projects, each project building upon the following one. Now, Patricia is going to be speaking, and she's giving the first project in that manual. This is not, however, the first time she's ever done it. She's done it many times in the past. It's the icebreaker, and Patricia is going to share with us the lives of her puppy dogs and kitty cats. And she's entitled it Pets as Read as Children at Christmas. Please welcome Patricia Knaebe. Did I read that correctly?
As bad
Bad.
as children at Christmas. As bad.
As bad.
As bad.
Ah. You got that, folks?
Thank you, Dave. Fellow Toastmasters at home, and welcome guests. Many of you know that I have 2 dogs and a cat, and also many of you know that I don't, but now you know that. Our dogs and our cat are all rescues. We came upon 2 dogs, one dog on purpose, 1 dog by mistake, and the cat was most definitely a mistake. But we love them all dearly, and they are our children. They are our furry kids and an important part of our family. Naturally, at Christmas, we spoil our kids rotten, and this year was no exception. In the past, our dog Moose, who is going to be 15 in February, could not stay away from the tree. As a matter of fact, the first Christmas that we had Moose, he thought his name was changed to Stay Away from the Tree. He could not handle being anywhere but in front of that tree. One morning, I was getting ready for work, and my dog Moose was being very quiet. And as with children at Christmas time, when children are being quiet, they are up to something. I knew my dog Moose was up to something. I came down the front stairs, only to find Moose sitting smack dab in the middle of the living room with a single strand of tinsel draped over his nose and the lower boughs of the Christmas tree bouncing in the background. Moose was sitting in the middle of the living room like an angel, and I said, "Moose, what have you been doing?" And he gave me that look. "Not me, Mom. It wasn't me. I didn't make the tree behind me bounce. I don't have tinsel over my nose. It wasn't me." We got to the point with Moose where we had to stop putting the presents underneath the tree because he could not contain himself and he could not stay away from the presents until Christmas Day. There were times that he would even pick out his presents from under the tree, bring them to us, drop them in our laps, and ask in his wonderful doggy way if he could please open a present early. Many times we obliged. The event that stopped us from putting presents under the tree, 2 Christmases ago, my dog, almost 13 years old, laying under the tree with his paws around a present, a blissful look on his face, gnawing on the corner of a gift that was meant for my husband. The ironic thing about it was the gift from the dogs to my husband. So I tell my husband, obviously Moose can read. He knew the tag was from him and his brother Fred, and he wanted to know what the gift was. The presents from that point forward have been elevated to a higher level that the dogs cannot reach. This year, Moose being almost 15, he's a little more laid back about Christmas, or so we thought until Christmas Day. Christmas Day came, the dogs opened their presents. Our cat, his first Christmas with us, didn't exactly know what to do with his gifts, so we opened his gifts for him, but he knew when he saw treats, he started meowing very excitedly. The dogs opened their bones that were filled with wonderful goodies, cheese-filled and chicken-flavored filling, and happily gnawed on their bones. It wasn't until they got to the toys that things got rather interesting. We got our cat, his name is Rock, we got him a little ball that as you roll it across the floor, it lights up as it rolls. Ingenious idea. Scared poor Rock to death. He wouldn't have anything to do with that ball. As a matter of fact, he ran away from it. Our dog Fred, who I haven't told you about, he's an 8-year-old pit bull. He acts like he's 2 years old. He has never grown out of his puppy stage. We rolled that ball a few times for Rock. Fred caught on to the game. He chased the ball and would bring it back to us, firmly clenched within his teeth. After a few times of him having the ball in his mouth, the toy broke. Nothing like a big brother taking little brother's toy and immediately breaking it Christmas morning. Moose didn't seem all that interested in the toys that he and Fred got, so Fred, being the middle child, took control over all of the toys and happily played with them all. Moose decided that there was something a little more interesting than the toys. The shopping bag full of discarded wrapping paper, far more interesting than the toys. We had the shopping bag by the back door with the wrapping paper smushed down in it. Moose tipped the bag over and started pawing through the wrapping paper. As he was emptying the shopping bag, Rock, who had no interest in any of his toys, jumped into the shopping bag and played with that instead. Between the wrapping paper for Moose and the shopping bag for Rock, they were entertained for hours Christmas morning. Didn't seem to care about their toys at all. Fred, on the other hand, the middle child, the 8-year-old adolescent, played with all of the toys freely and happily, and yes, had most of them destroyed by the end of Christmas morning. Master Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Patricia has been around Toastmasters for several years now, probably about 12?
Since 2006. Nine.
Nine years.
Almost,
wow.
almost
Yeah.
9 years.
And in 9 years, you've been the division governor twice, area governor twice.
Area governor twice.
And now you are the district education dean. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So you coordinate the events at TLI and other things of that sort?
I help the Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training with the events at TLI, at the conferences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to keep your fingers in the pie once you're officially out of office.
Yeah,
You're still
it
doing
is.
something. And the district needs it, and you can do it well. So
Thank you.
our next presenter has a story. This is a Christmas season, you know, and it goes, I don't know, for another half a month or so. But Tom is going to talk to us about Santa Claus here in just a few moments. Now, we all know all the stories about Santa Claus and what kind of person he was and what the good deeds he does and, you know, all of that blah, 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 blah stuff. Well, Tom has chosen to take a different tack. I can't tell you a lot about the story, except to give you the title of his presentation, which is Santa, Good or Bad? Santa, Good or Bad? Let's welcome Tom Heller.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Everybody loves Santa. What a wonderful person. Is he really? Can we absolutely say that for sure? Aside from the fact that he is convincing generation after generation that you can get something for nothing, a very questionable idea at the very best, there are a number of other things that just don't seem quite right about Santa. He has innumerable names. Santa Claus, St. Nick, just name after name. Usually if a person has aliases, it's highly suspicious. There is a reason why he has to change his name all the time. And there are some things about Santa Claus that could make you wonder. We know from eyewitnesses that he has been caught kissing Mommy under the Christmas tree, under the mistletoe. Where I come from, that's called adultery. Now, let us consider the fact that he breaks and enters millions of homes. Now, you think that it's all right because he's giving us things? Is he really? Really? I mean, where does he get the money for this, decade after decade? Am I the only one who ever got a cheap toy and an orange in the stocking and found the Rolex missing? Am I the only one who ever went to get out the good china for the extended family and find that it wasn't there anymore? That the silverware was gone? I think he may be taking more than he brings. But let's also consider the laws that he is specifically breaking that we know of. He doesn't stop for any custom checks. He just ignores international borders. Now, I think we need to be completely fair about something. If China, say for example, sells us something that our government in its infinite and unlimited wisdom feels is underpriced, that it costs less than they're selling it for less than what it costs to make. They call that dumping. They get right after China. They threaten trade wars and lawsuits. But when Santa Claus gives it to us outright free, we say thank you. I think we ought to either sue Santa Claus or say thank you, Mr. Chinaman. One way or the other. We surely can't have it both ways. But it just gets worse and worse when you really think about it. We have these reindeer, very special reindeer. They fly. In one case, they even light up the night sky. Are they on an endangered species list? I don't think there are very many of them. But do we protect them in any way? No, we turn them over to the tender mercy of a man who uses a whip on them. A whip, mind you, in this day and age. And by the way, who still uses a pipe? The last 8 or so renditions of Sherlock Holmes, they discarded the pipe, so politically incorrect. But Santa smokes. Does anybody object when Santa smokes? Now, let us consider the matter of how these toys are made up there at the North Pole. We all know they're made by elves, and we all know that the elves just love to work. And of course, they don't get paid anything. After all, Santa Claus doesn't have any income, possibly. I think we can take a clue as to how everybody's faring up there by the fact that Santa Claus is built much along the lines that I am. Contrary to what the government thinks, I am not Santa Claus. And the elves are about half the size of a hobbit. I can show you who's eating well and who's not. Now, Abraham Lincoln noted before the Civil War that there were a lot of people that had a lot of good to say about slavery. Really thought it was a wonderful institution, but nobody ever wanted to take the good of it for themselves. In other words, nobody ever volunteered to be a slave. I am pretty sure that if they asked the elves whether they would like to continue on as they are or find something else to do, they would probably opt to do something besides make toys for the rest of us for free. Could be wrong. I'm betting, though. Now, we don't know, of course, what the OSHA record is because they're never checked. But considering Santa's approach to everything, I'll bet it's atrocious. I'll bet there are elves' fingers and limbs all over the place up there in the North Pole. Now, beyond that, it just gets worse and worse, folks. It really does. This great and wonderful man that we love by all of his many aliases, when you stop to consider all the stuff he's made all these years, his track record in every other way, just exactly how polluted do you think that area is? Now, it might not seem important since it's up there at the North Pole, so very far away from us. But do you realize that the North Pole is not on solid ground? It's just frozen ice. And do you also realize, whether you believe in global warming or not, that that area is melting? It's melting at a rapid rate. Pretty soon, all this stuff, all this pollution of all kinds is going to be in the ocean and will go throughout all the world. It will be a worse mess than all the man-made and natural pollution disasters that have ever happened combined. It may mean the end of life as we know it. Now, I think, far from honoring him and giving him cookies, I mean, this man doesn't need a cookie any more than I do. We need to make a raid up there. Let OSHA lead the way. Let the Border Patrol and all right-minded people that are opposed to slavery and ending the world in an untimely fashion, let them make a raid on this and put an end to it. Put a stop to it now. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Santa, for my snowblower. Mr. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wow. You realize, Tom, there's a reason why we didn't let you do that speech before Christmas. Man, I'm so glad about you getting a snowblower and all. So that's really wonderful. But what a terrific presentation. I don't know what you do to think this stuff up. Do you make lists and organize it, or does it just come to you while you're chopping wood or blowing snow or whatever?
Yeah, it just comes to me. I don't really even have to work at it that hard. It probably should worry you all, 'cause who knows where a mind like this might go.
Well, that's actually very true. Yeah, I've been actually concerned about that. Well, Toastmasters wouldn't be Toastmasters without evaluation. Now, we don't criticize a speech. Oh, no. What we do is we give an evaluation. And that's where a member of the audience will listen to a presentation, take it in, figure out what they did right, and then compliment them on it, and then perhaps give them a suggestion on where they might improve the next time. And this is true of every member, whether you're the first one coming in the club or you've been there 30 years, you still get evaluation. And that is the key and the pull and the mental majesty of Toastmasters, is that's what makes it really and truly go, because evaluation causes you to grow. And tonight's speeches were no exception, and in fact we have each of the speakers evaluating one another. So obviously they're going to be kind, but we'll see what kind of evaluations they actually give. Our first presenter, which I badly mangled the title of, was by Patricia, and we'll have Tom give that evaluation at this time. Tom?
Put me up there.
Whatever you like. Would you like to sit there?
I'll just sit here.
All right, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins, and especially Patricia. I'm not quite sure why Dave is so sure that a man who wants to arrest Santa Claus would be kind to other people, but be that as it may. Patricia did an excellent job, as Patricia always does. The icebreaker is most commonly given by somebody who is just starting out the Toastmaster experience, and you have to choose one or two things for them to work on out of the dozen or two serious errors they've made. After you've been a Toastmaster for a while, especially as capable of one as Patricia, the situation is quite different. I'm virtually without any useful suggestion to make to her. I used to just worry about this and think up something somehow, and finally the late Bob Norris convinced me that if the best I could do was that their shoelaces don't match their tie, that maybe I just ought not to say anything about it. Very good job. If I were to say anything negative, I suppose it would be that we learned more about her pets than we did about her. But I have this trouble too. After you've given about so many icebreakers, how many people want to know where you went to school and how long you've been married? I mean, you got to shake it up a little bit. So can't really fault her on that. Great use of voice modulation, great gestures, very logical flow. Just really wasn't much to complain about. You can see why she is an experienced Toastmaster, an area governor, and still a leader in the Toastmaster organization.
Oh,
Mr. Wilkins.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
That was certainly the kind of speech that, if you were a pet owner, you recognized all of those symptoms, and the fact that, yes, indeed, you do care for your little animals as much as if they were your children. If we had my wife here, she would not only agree with that, she'd be busy feeding the cat, as it were. So.
Well, no, we have 3 cats ourselves, and I consider that 4 too many.
Well, yeah, you don't like Santa Claus, so who cares? Choking me right up here. Anyway, then Tom gave his rendition of the Santa Claus story, and Patricia was given the task of giving an evaluation of that presentation.
Nice.
And Patricia, please.
Absolutely. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Tom, this speech is a Speaking to Entertain. It is from the advanced manual called The Professional Speaker, and the purpose of the speech was to entertain us. And it did just that. The opening was effective. It drew the audience in. It warmed the audience to the topic immediately. The speech was organized very well. It was organized according to Santa Claus legend and Santa Claus myth, and Tom used a wonderful technique of exaggeration to stretch these myths and show us the truth of why these myths and these stories of Santa Claus should be suspect. Tom had great eye contact and As the audience, I could tell that Dave and I were entertained by Dave's laughter, by the way we were engaged in what Tom was saying. There was a lot of enjoyment on our faces. I think if we were considerably younger, we might have tears in our eyes. However, being the savvy adults we are, we thoroughly enjoyed the speech. Tom offered great word pictures as one technique he used to weave his story. He had good vocal inflection, and the parody was wonderful. It just carried us along through his story very nicely. As I said, Tom used exaggeration as his main entertainment technique, and he used it beautifully. The closing was very effective. It called back to the summation of the key points of his speech, and it contained more parody. It kept the parody theme going throughout the closing. So from beginning to close, it was a very consistent form of entertainment. As far as suggestions, again, as Tom said, Tom is such a polished and exceptional speaker that I really could not find anything that I would want to see improved upon. If I had to stretch it, I would say maybe play have some bells in the background or some Santa sleigh noises in the background or something. But again, that is a stretch. I thought it was a wonderfully entertaining story and amusing as well. Thank you, Tom.
Well, thank you, Patricia. Your evaluation was really right on spot, and I don't know that there's anything that could make it any better. I don't know. It occurred to me that maybe a picture of a Santa Claus or a picture of an elf, and you could hold them up side by side, juxtaposition. The variation in size might be a visual aid that you could have used. But it's really very funny, just the way you do it. And I think that was awesome. Now, the Toastmaster half of this hour is just about over. And I think that we're going to go to the PSAs, and that would be right now. And that will go, then we'll be back and we'll do the parliamentary half. So we'll see you in a few.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says.
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
And we're back with the second half of the show, the parliamentary portion, where we discuss Robert's Rules of Order and other things parliamentarily involved. Everybody here has heard of Henry Robert, the man that wrote Robert's Rules, but a lot of people don't realize that Thomas Jefferson actually wrote the first book in this country on parliamentary procedure. Now, true enough, he wrote it for the House and the Senate in Washington, D.C. It gave instructions on how they should behave and how they should address the chair and how they were going to conduct business. And it varies a little bit from Robert's Rules of Order, but nonetheless, it is a parliamentary guide, and that's what we're talking about tonight, is various parliamentary guides. Most effectively, of course, Robert's Rules. But when it comes to Thomas Jefferson, there's a lot of interest about his life, what he's done, what his legacy was, and we are privileged to have Mr. Tom Haller, who is the president of the current parliamentary unit, the Bob Lyman unit of the National Association of Parliamentarians, here tonight to share with us a back history on our third president, Mr. Thomas Jefferson. Tom Haller.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Specifically, I wanted to address the issue of Thomas Jefferson having children by one of his slaves, Sally Hemings. He didn't. It's just that simple. Contrary to what the Merchant Ivory film says, contrary to what almost everybody says, it didn't happen, and we know it didn't happen because we know where both of them were. Thomas Jefferson was president and otherwise busy being a famous man, and we know where he was at any given time. We also know where Sally Hemings was. She was a slave. She was on the plantation. I'm not endorsing the system, but that's the way it works. When you're a slave, you're pretty much on the plantation. Contrary to the Merchant Ivory film, she didn't travel with him. Now, whatever you say about it, we know that the oldest child, that would be the most outrageous thing to have fathered a child with her when she was 15. We know that he didn't do that because that child's family does not have the Jefferson DNA. The other two children she had do have Jefferson DNA. That is true. However, there are other Jeffersons besides Thomas. And since we can eliminate Thomas, since he wasn't within physical contact of her at the time of conception, we need to look elsewhere. Those people who wish to give it some careful thought and not just jump to conclusions have traditionally assumed that it was one or the other of the two nephews of Thomas Jefferson that were living with him. This would make sense and be logical in that they would be more of an age with the young woman. One person we can leave out, the one brother we know didn't do it, even though he is virtually guilty by name. His name was Kerr, like a dog, Kerr. However, Kerr's DNA has a peculiar marker which carries on generation after generation, and none of the children have that marker, so name notwithstanding, we know that he is also innocent. The other, his brother, could possibly have been. Could have been. We don't know in the absolute for sure who did this. On the other hand, we must consider that Thomas Jefferson not only had nephews living with him, he had an uncle Randolph that lived with him. When he lived with Thomas Jefferson, he was between wives. He was married twice. His first wife had, I believe, died, and he had not yet remarried. And he was known during this period of time to what was called take his ease in the slave quarters at night. We would call that having sex, I believe. So we have one man who was not anywhere near Sally Hemings while this conception was going on, and another Jefferson who was back in the slave quarters taking his ease. Not a hard call as to who the probable father was. So, completely innocent of the 15-year-old pregnancy. Also, Thomas is innocent of any other. Now, I'm not saying he was a perfect man. He was very much a man of his times. He certainly had slaves. You could say it was his responsibility to protect her. That was not the mindset at that period of time. Very few people are perfect. We honor him for many reasons, including his work in parliamentary procedure. It was really, really bad in Congress before he wrote his manual of how to do it. I mean, people were outright rude. You would not enjoy being there. So he's done some good work in the parliamentary area, and whatever his good points and his false points are, he did not father any children by Sally Hemings. That said, Mr. Wilkins, back to you.
Are you taking questions about this, or do you have any other information? Or
I would be happy to take a question if anybody wants it.
do you have any questions, Patricia?
I don't have any questions.
No? Okay. His wife was dead at this time?
I'm not sure of that, actually.
Okay.
That's, you may not ever noticed it in your shell, but the wife living or dying is not necessarily key to whether a man is impregnating other women.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I understand what you're saying. Okay. But, well,
No, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer.
I thought that she had passed and that
She probably had, but I don't want to say that as a fact.
okay. Well, as you have mentioned, and he did indeed write this first book on parliamentary procedure, the Jeffersonian Manual. Others in the 1800s that wrote manuals included a man named Luther Cushing, and he wrote a really quite a good book on parliamentary procedure, but he was not a thorough person. He would start out something and then he would just kind of let it trail off and let your group come to a conclusion as to how you should finally resolve it. The net result was that when different groups came together having used this Cushing's manual, one of them came up with one result of how to do it, and another group came up with a different result on how to accomplish the same thing. So you were right back at the very beginning where you couldn't decide how to do what because you weren't agreeing on the rules. And quite frankly, before we went on the air this evening, we were talking to one of our camera operators here. His lady friend belongs to a group that chooses not to use Robert's rules at all. And we were talking about how important it is that you have a set of rules. In fact, that was even one of Thomas Jefferson's quotes, you know. It's more important that you have a rule than what the rule is. And what that means is, if you have a rule and everybody agrees to it, then whatever that rule is, that becomes your benchmark, that becomes your standard. Well, in the parliamentary world and in the deliberative association world, of which we're all part of, that benchmark, that masthead that we have is also called Robert's Rules of Order. Why? Well, because Robert's Rules is the book that is the be-all and end-all on how to decide things. And since that's the case, then by using that, you don't have arguments, you don't have disagreements, and things get done in a fair, efficient manner, and everyone has their fair shake. So having said that, I'd like to tell you that our parliamentary club, the Bob Lyman unit of the American Institute of the National Association of Parliamentarians, meets on the third Monday here in the Allen County Public Library downtown in the Globe Room, and the Globe Room is that beautiful room, well, right behind the Globe. And we're there from 6:30 until 8 p.m. And in those classes or in those club sessions, we studied various Robert's rules. We also practiced them, and then we also have workshops and study questions and quizzes, all things towards us developing these skills that we can then pass on to you. And so, you know, we'd love to take calls. If we had any, we would take them in and try to answer whatever your question was. That number's 422-3902. And I know we have a few minutes left yet here this evening. We are just about 12 minutes out. And I would like to go back to our Toastmaster section for just a little bit and talk to Patricia about TLI and what's going on there. And if you want to come up here and talk about it, or if you'd rather sit there, it'd be fine too.
I can sit here and talk about it.
Oh, that's
if
fine.
you'd like
Okay.
me to.
Tell us about TLI and your involvement with it.
Oh, okay. TLI, Toastmasters Leadership Institute, is a biannual event that happens in Indianapolis. It is open to everyone in District 11, which encompasses all of Indiana and northern Kentucky. We get together and have officers training. We train for all 7 officers' positions in the club. We also have value-added educational breakout sessions, and there are usually 3 or 4 of these breakout sessions that are presented at each TLI event. This time we're going to have a panel discussion on what it's like to be an international speech contestant at the international level, not just at the club, area, or division and district level, but actually go all the way to the international contest. And panelists will be talking about their experiences in that realm and at that level of speaking. We're also going to have a discussion about the club success plan, which is an important piece for clubs to discuss because it's a roadmap on how to maintain membership, how to run productive meetings, how to keep guests interested in coming back and becoming members. And we will have a few other educational sessions. This coming TLI is happening toward the end of January. January 24th, I believe, is the date. That's a Saturday. And it starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's usually done by noon. It's a great way to network with other Toastmasters. It's a great way to learn your role if you are an officer. It's also a wonderful way to get additional education if you are interested in other aspects of Toastmasters. And they have door prizes at the end, so how fun is that? It's a good, positive experience. I urge everyone to join us on the 24th in Indianapolis. It is always held at the Eli Lilly Training Center, and a fun time is always had by all.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Patricia. About the 4 different breakout sessions now, is that 4 separate sessions run sequentially, or are they all run at the same time and you choose which you wish to go to?
You would need to choose what you wish to go to because they run at the same time as the officer training sessions run. So you may choose to go to an officer's training session. For example, if you are a club president and you've never been a club president before, you may choose to go to the president breakout session. Or if you have been a club president before and you want to learn a little more about the international speech contest, you may choose to go to that breakout session. So they happen simultaneously with the officer's training.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Okay. And Tom, I understand you are going to be a presenter at the at the spring conference, TLI. Is that true?
Not that I've been made aware of so far.
Where are you training presidents?
Oh, at the local level here in Fort Wayne.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about that.
Yeah, I will. Here in Fort Wayne, for those that can't make it to the TLI, which is, a ways away in Indianapolis, most of the officers will be trained here in Fort Wayne. Toastmasters International does insist that the officers be trained, even if they have been trained previously. Things change. In fact, things are changing relatively rapidly in Toastmasters right now. Still, all the basics are the same, but a lot of the details are different. At any rate, whether they are or not, you need to be trained, and it will fall to me to train the presidents on 2 different occasions. I do not have the dates off the top of my head, but those that would be likely to attend would have access to them. There'll be 2 different dates, a Wednesday night and a Saturday in February.
I believe it's the 11th.
The Wednesday is the 11th, and I believe the Saturday is the 21st. I believe Saturday is the 21st.
That's not the same as TLI, is it?
It's not the same.
No.
TLI is in January.
Okay.
Yeah, and our officers training locally or at the division level is in February.
In February, okay.
Yeah, I mean, what would, in my mind, I assume part of the logic, it would be ideal if a person could go down to TLI, be trained themselves before they train other people.
That would be, all those things. We do follow hierarchy in Toastmasters. But the one thing about Toastmasters is you're never given a duty or a job that you haven't given a piece of paper to teach you how to do it. I mean, that's one of the joys of the organization, that we do take care of you. Okay, let's see, what's moving on? Any other events coming up? Are you in charge of any of the speech contests coming up or anything, Patricia?
I'm not in charge of any of the speech contests coming up. I will probably serve as a judge if I am asked. I will certainly attend the speech contests that are coming up, but the area and the division governors are in charge of those.
Oh, those are, okay, all right. And we have 2 contests coming up. One is the International Speech Contest. That goes all the way to the International Convention that is held next August. And in fact, one of the ladies that is going to be speaking at the TLI was our candidate from Fort Wayne, Indiana, who last year went all the way to Kuala Lumpur to be in the International Speech Contest, which is where it was held last year. I do not have in front of me the dates or the times of this year's international conference, but somebody I'm sure knows. And we will give that to you later on. But besides the International Speech Contest, there are a few others that happen during the year, and one is an evaluation contest. How do you imagine that happens? Well, an evaluation contest is where you have a target speaker. Comes up and gives you the speech. Sometimes they put ringers in it, sometimes they don't. But those speeches are then evaluated by several different people. And then there are judges who judge the evaluations as to which one did the best job. And that's another contest that's going to be probably running concurrently with the International Speech Contest. I think we're down to about the last 4 or 5 minutes. I always like to give people, I'm seeing signs being handed up there. What sign did you wave, Marty? 4 or 5?
5 minutes.
5?
5.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, that sounds just about right. You're slowed down.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's not the first time I've been told I was slow.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you could hook it up to your new snowblower and charge it up or something.
I probably should.
I'd like to give people their last Toastmaster minute to say thank yous and any thoughts about what's coming up for their club or organization in the next few weeks or till next month. Patricia?
Oh, okay. Actually, I would like to talk about the Advanced Speakers and Leaders Open House that's going to be taking place on Monday, March 2nd. It's going to be here at the downtown location of the Allen County Public Library. It will probably be in meeting room A, B, or C. That is the plan at this point, and it will be from 6:30 until 8. We would like to show all Toastmasters what the Advanced Speakers and Leaders Club is about and share the benefits with you. Now, we are a closed club in that there are 2 requirements. The first requirement is that you be an active member in another club. The second requirement is that you have already achieved your competent communicator, which means your first 10 speeches out of this manual. However, if you're closing in on your competent communicator and you want to come and see what we're about, we welcome you to join us, not just for the open house, but as a guest anytime. And we meet the first Monday of every month.
All right, thank you, Patricia. Great commercial. Tom, what do you have to say?
I think the only club which is represented here today, which hasn't been talked about, would be the Bob Lyman Club, which meets the 2nd and 4th Mondays at the Northcrest Pizza Hut. All evening clubs meet from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. That would include us. There'll be signs up if you want to join us. We're actively recruiting people. It's a good club. It's a supper club. The other clubs we've talked about, well, the one club that Dave belongs to is also a supper club at Penguin Point. I had no idea there were Penguin Points around anymore till I went down there. There are several of them, actually. But the Pizza Hut has a very nice place where we meet, and we're a small, good club, and we anxiously recruit people. But hope that you might see your way clear to be there and enjoy some pizza with us.
All righty. Thank you, Tom. That was a great commercial for a wonderful club. I belonged to the Bob Lyman Club some years ago, and it's really a worthwhile group. And I would like to just put a footnote onto what Patricia said about the open house and the advanced speakers. The club is primarily designed to give you chances to do longer presentations. In our basic club manual, the Competent Communicator Manual, the projects run somewhere between 4 and 7 minutes. And that's what is the ideal time that most speeches take to do. But if you have one that has a longer requirement or you require more time, then the Advanced Club is the place to go, because we feature and focus specifically on longer presentations. I see the 1 minute sign. I do want to thank Robert Boyd for being here tonight as a camera operator, Marty Stern, who's wildly waving the sign, our own Dennis Osborne, without whom we could not operate, and in the booth there is Ada Boucher getting the technical directing on the air. And folks, we want to talk to you and thank you for watching us tonight on the Speakers and Leaders Hour. We'll be back here next month on February the 3rd, and that will be the next issue and the next program for Speakers and Leaders. So until then, have a good time, and may all your speeches be short, and God bless. Until then, good night.